anytime you get the opportunity to get out the water, you want to make sure you have a successful trip or a successful outing. That didn't happen the first 2 times we got out in the water with this Boost fin. So this is the 3rd time, maybe the 3rd time's the charm. We're going to try to make sure that this trip is successful and make sure that you know how we did it. So stick around. Alright, so I'm sure you guys are all more interested in how this thing performs out in the water and how it works and how to operate it. But first things first, we got to go over the packaging. So it's pretty simple. Boost fin box, white, not too big, maybe 12 by 12, 12 by 14. Comes out together. Nice simple packaging inside. We got our manual right here to go through all the different steps to get going. Got a little plastic insert that just slides right out. And then your fin. So your Boost fin. Pretty sleek design here. And then underneath there is where you're just gonna have all your accessories. So you're gonna have your charging, adapter with the 2 different adapters that go with it as far as where you're out in the country and how you're gonna charge it in each plug. You have your screwdriver, which is how you turn it on and off, and then also change adapters depending on which board you're on. And then you have your controller. So not much to it, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And that's it when it comes to packaging. So let's get into all the other details. All right, so as we mentioned, this is our 3rd attempt of trying to get this Boost fin out in the water successfully. So what happened the first 2 times? So the first time we went out, we used a flip fin adapter for a different paddleboard. I had my Glide paddleboard, which has a different fin box, and I'm used to putting the adapter onto the fin itself and then putting the fin into the fin box. But that's not the case with the Boost fin, so I was trying to force it into my flip fin box, and it broke the adapter. I haven't got a new adapter yet, so now we are using it on the slip fin adapter on my boat board, which is a different fin box. So the second time we went out, I did it correctly this time on the installation, but then I did not secure the fin properly because the adapter does not line up with the little hole properly on this fin box. So I wasn't able to put the pin in, and as soon as I gave this thing full thrust, my fin just shot off the board and started going out in the intercoastal. I had to jump off my board. I got soaked. I was in 4 foot of water. Luckily, I hit the stop button on my controller and was able to find it with my feet, so I didn't lose my fin. So lesson learned there. So this time, like I said, our 3rd trip, I wanted to make sure it was successful. So I contacted Boost Fin, and they told me that their adapters obviously are supposed to fit this board, but there's different brands have little different variations, so I may need to modify the adapter. So that's what I did. So in order to make it slide in a little smoother, I took a belt sander to the bottom of my adapter, and then in order to get the hole to line up to where I could slide the pin in, I actually took a multi-tool and chopped off some of the back of it so I could get it all the way back to get the hole to line up. So should you have to do that? No, but Boost Fin I think they're still trying to hone in on their adapters for all the different brands out there. So I think they're still working on that, and hopefully they'll get that figured out so you don't have any issues. But like I said, lesson learned. Learn from what I did, and make sure you get your fin on your board and secured before you get out on the water so you don't have any issues. So the adapters. When you get your board, it's going to come with the long board adapter, which is for surfing. So if you're going to use it for anything other than that, you have to make sure you buy a separate adapter, like I said, which is an additional purchase. This is the slip fin adapter, and then you want to make sure you put it on the board first. This one doesn't really matter as much to slip fin adapter because it just slides in. But the flip lock adapter, you definitely have to put it on the board first, then put the fin on. So So one of the things about the boost fin is that in order to change any of the settings, so if you want to customize the settings, you're not just using the standard ones on the controller, then you have to open the app and connect it. And this is all done by Bluetooth. So in order to do this, you have to do it while you're out of the water, because once you get into the water, it's going to disconnect from your phone and you're not going to be able to change any settings. So whatever you have it set on is what it is. So in order to do that, you go to your boost fin app, use the magnet on your screwdriver, you'll turn on your boost fin. So now you can see that it is connected. So from here we can change up some of our settings. You've got, you know, your standard surf mode, or you can go into sup mode, or you can do some customized settings. You got your battery life that showing that we are at 100% right now. You've got short or long burst. Being on a sup board, you know, we're going to use the long burst more than the short. The short would be more for surfing. So if you wanted to get a short burst to help you get up on that wave. And then under long, you've got some different settings. So you've got sup assistance, which is going to be the shortest. Sorry, not the shortest, the least amount of thrust. As you can see that down the bottom, it tells you you'll have 100 minutes on a full charge at that speed. On the trolling mode, you'll see that it's telling you that you'll have 70 minutes on a full charge, so that's like mid speed. And then sup wind mode, which is probably what I'm going to have it in mostly, because I'm usually fighting currents and wind. It's saying only 40 minutes on a full charge. So. And then from here, they've got some extra settings, which is, if you can tell it how long for the boost fin to turn off after non-use, and some other things there. So, and then you've got a tutorials tab, which is kind of cool. If you needed to out in the water or out camping or wherever you're on your adventure and needed to see how to turn on your boost for some reason, or how to work the remote control or something like that, you could watch these tutorials straight from the app. But most of the time you're going to be right here setting up your settings for the first time before you go out, and then you shouldn't have to touch it after that. All right, so we made it out here finally. Before I actually turned on the boost fin, I wanted to make sure I got to like a hard bottom, pretty shallow, maybe 2 foot of water right here. That way, if this thing does decide to fling off again for some reason, I'm not on a mucky bottom and sinking and everything else trying to go get it. So let's turn her on here, see what happens. So far, so good. Now it's time to play around and see what we can do. Alright, so real quick, let's go over some of these features before we dive into everything else on this board, or on this boost fin on this board. So first off, weight is 2.7 pounds on the boost, so you're not adding too much weight at all to your package. Max speed is 10 miles an hour. That may be possible, I haven't tried it yet, but I don't see us getting to 10 miles an hour. I tried the pack light today. I'm on the boat, you know, Aero Rackham, which is kind of a paddle board on steroids, as you can call it. And I brought my rack, 1 fishing pole just in case I see something, and then I'm in my seat. So I packed light just so I didn't try to bog it down. I didn't bring my Apex pedal drive or anything, because that thing's kind of heavy. So wanted to try to get as realistic of a speed as I could on this board for you. And then really the only other feature to talk about would be the thrust. So this thing has a max thrust of 20 pounds, which is pretty good. So we'll find out, like I said, here in a minute. We'll put it to test and see how fast we can go and how much thrust it has. controller. Let's talk about the controller real quick. So the controller has only got 2 buttons, pretty simple. The way that I'm currently wearing it, which I believe is the proper way to wear it, on the left-hand side is going to be your short burst, and then on the right-hand side is your long continuous. So I don't know if you can hear it, but you should hopefully be able to hear it ramp up in speed. So I'm going to hit the short burst side as if I was trying to catch a wave or just wanted a short burst real fast to help me out paddling. Speed 1, speed 2, speed 3. And then it cuts off. So I don't know, that was probably 5-10 seconds of burst. And then on the right hand side, it kind of ramps up to full speed right away, obviously based on the settings that you put it on. So I set it up on the wind, which is the fastest one to my knowledge. I don't feel like this is probably going as fast as it can. So I may have to get off the paddleboard, open my app and just verify that I have it on the fastest setting here before we do the speed test. But just for the controller wise, that you know, you've got the continuous, it's still running right now on the right side. And then on the left side is your short burst. And if you want to turn it off, just press it again. Alright, so if you're in the market for a motor for your SUP or even your surfboard, why would you want to choose the BoostFin, and would you? So, it's a good question. Oh, we got some waves here. Alright. Alright, so let's run through some of the pros and cons of the BoostFin. So if you're out in the market for a motor, for your SUP or your surfboard. I can't vouch for a surfboard, but I can definitely see how this would be useful if I was a surfer. So you can use the short function. Your battery will last a long time because it's only short burst, and it's going to help you catch more waves for sure. You know, you're not going to be as tired trying to catch those waves because you're not having to paddle like a maniac to get on that wave. So definitely see a plus there. You know, they're coming into the SUP market. That's why they made these adapters. And I think if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm a big fan of having a motor on my SUP, whether it's the Boost or the Bixby or anything, just because of all the benefits of having a motor in these currents and winds, and just being able to stay out longer and enjoy your time out in the water and get an exercise as well, or not get an exercise if you don't want to. It gets pretty hot out here. I'm out here pretty early this morning, so the sun's coming up. It's going to start getting super hot here shortly, so I'll get in. But with that said, the adapters definitely need some work from what I can see, at least on the slide fin adapter. I had to modify it, as you saw. The flip fin adapter I don't have yet. Once I get that in, I'll throw that on one of my other boards and make sure it works properly. So just make sure before you get out that you test everything and it's working properly before you get out on your trip. That way you can have a nice successful trip outing. And then other than that, speed wise, it says up to 10 miles an hour. Again, we didn't reach that. We only reached 3 miles an hour, which is kind of what I figured. I didn't think I was going to reach 10 miles an hour, whether it's the board, the current. Right now we have an outgoing tide. You know, it's not super windy, so that wasn't too much of a factor. So the only way to eliminate all those variables is if I went into a pond around here or something, but I'm always out here in the river or in the intercoastal, which always has a current or a wind. And then other than that, that's really it. So we went over the features, we went over the specs, kind of the pros and cons. So we appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. All right, so the moment you've all probably been waiting for is speed. Everyone wants to know how fast this thing goes, so we're gonna test that right now. I did get off my paddleboard just now. I beached it, and checked on my app. I paired it just to make sure I was in the fastest speed, and it says I am. I'm in wind mode, meaning it's going to give the max amount of thrust, 20 pounds, in order to get us going and continuously stay there. But in return, it's saying we only have 40 minutes of battery life. So let's kick her up into high speed here. I'm gonna try to keep us not going into the things here. All right, we're at 3. And it looks like that's gonna be about all we get, 3 miles an hour. Again, I believe I have it on the fastest setting. So, and again, I'm not on a traditional paddle board. I'm on more of a kayak hybrid SUP. So it is heavier. It's a heavier board, but so this current test, we are only getting, 3 miles an hour, maybe 4 if I'm helping a little bit. So that's it. 3 miles an hour on the Boost Fin under wind speed. One thing I would like to see done different is probably the app feature. I mean, and I know I would much rather be able to see what function or what speed or what feature I was using out on the water, instead of having to get out of the water and reconnect my phone, see where I'm at, and then get back in the water. You just have the uncertainty of knowing, am I in the correct feature that I put it in? You don't know. So that's one thing. The app is cool. I love the customization, but with the Bluetooth, it just kind of limits you, because as soon as you get in the water with it, it's going to disconnect from your phone, and then you don't have any control over it. The only control you're going to have is the controller that you have, which has 2 buttons, so you're kind of stuck with that, short or long burst. And then obviously securing your fin. So we kind of went over that, but the pin is a must. Make sure you use it on your different things. But I also did see, I don't think they had it as an option when I got my Boost Fin, but I did see a leash that they have. So that's definitely, I think, a purchase that you need to make if you're going to be getting one, because I'm still worried that this thing's going to fall off on me. So I may even get the leash, because that's the last thing you want, is to be out in the water or out in the ocean. If it falls off in the ocean, I doubt you're going to, well, you may be able to get it if it washes up on the shore, but out here, I got lucky last time, but I may not get lucky next time. So if you're gonna get one, you may want to get that Boost Fin leash to make sure you don't lose your Boost Fin. So, good time to talk about battery life. So my battery just died on the Boost Fin. We've been out here for a good 2 hours. I've got it on the full speed setting, and it says that you get about 40 minutes of a battery life charge. 40 minutes of runtime at that feature, and I can vouch we definitely got at least 40 minutes. So like I said, we've been out here for 2 hours. Had the motor on and off, doing different things, and I did a little bit of fishing. Kind of hard for me not to fish if I come out here. So 40 minutes is a good estimate. Like I said, bad thing is our battery's dead. I'm probably a half a mile from the dock. Good news is I'm going with the current now, so I'll paddle my way back. But it brings up a good point. So I had no clue that my battery is about to die. So there's no indication that I know of other than looking at the phone. And in order to look at the phone and connect the app, you have to be off onto the land. So kind of hard to do when you're out here on the water. So some indication of your battery life, maybe on your controller or something, phase 2 maybe. So something to maybe look into. So make sure you know your battery life and how long you're going to be out there, and plan it accordingly. That way you can get to where you're going and get back if needed without it dying on you. sticking around and watching the video. We hope it was useful, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.